Well, a lot of my books talk about Chinese traditions or traditional literature. And the reason why is because, as I said earlier, when I was growing up, I spent a lot of time trying to pretend that I wasn't Asian. And I was really very uninterested in my culture. And it was only when I grew older, I realized I felt like there was something I had lost. And I felt like very sad about this. I realized when I was in art school, I realized I knew more Italian, I knew more Italian history, I knew more Italian art than I did about my own parents' culture. I didn't know any Chinese. I didn't know anything about the art of their culture. And so a lot of the books that I do now are kind of like my way of trying to recapture that culture that I felt that I lost. I do a lot of research because it's what interests me, because I feel like there's things that I missed and I want to find out. So that's why it's a very, very influential thing in my work, is trying to find the Asian culture that that I feel is a part of me, but I don't know. Where the Mountain Meets the Moon is probably the greatest example of what I was saying about trying to recapture the culture that I wanted to find. This book is very much based on Chinese folktales and mythology. When I was younger, as I said, I was very, very uninterested in Chinese culture. And my mom was very disappointed that she could not get any of the children very interested in it. But she did know that I loved to read, and she did know that I loved almost all books. And so she one day decided to put about 6 to 12 Chinese fairy tale books on the bookshelf. She didn't tell me about them. She didn't say, look at these books, because she knew if she tried to push them on us, we would completely reject it. But she just left it there, very slyly. And of course, I was completely unable to resist the lure of a new book, and I said, oh, what are those? And I picked them up and I started to read them. And they were Chinese fairy tales. And at first I was kind of disappointed with them because they were translated from Chinese to English, so the translations were very rough, and the illustrations were very, very plain compared to the books that I was reading. Like I was reading these beautifully illustrated books by Arthur Rackham, all those beautiful illustrated fairy tale books. And these kind of line drawings seemed really, really plain to me. So I didn't really think that these books made that much of an impression on me until many years later. And when I said I started getting interested in my culture again, and I had a great opportunity to travel to Taiwan and Hong Kong and China. And when I was there, all of a sudden, those stories that I read when I was younger kind of came back to me. And I was like, this reminds me of that story I read when I was a child. And I didn't remember all the details. I didn't remember exactly even the exact storylines. And so it started to create almost a new narrative, and the new details kind of came into play. And that's what became the book, Where the Mountain Meets the Moon. So it's kind of like my own fairy tale mixed in with the traditional fairy tales. Am I Min Lee? Sometimes. In some situations, I feel that I am, because she was definitely on a search. Min Lee in the book was definitely on a search to find happiness, and during the time that I wrote this, I was definitely on a search to find happiness too.